Who's the dumbest person you've ever met? It's not uncommon as a teacher to have students who are a bit behind the curve in certain aspects, but 99.99% of the time they are keen on something. They might not understand how to identify a noun or what theme is, but they somehow know how to make a mean plate of nachos. You learn pretty quick to not judge fish for their tree climbing ability, you know? I thought this was the rule when I was teaching until I met Kevin. Kevin isn't his real name, but it doesn't matter because he can't spell it anyway. Kevin was a student of mine during my last year of teaching. He came to my classroom with very little to show for his academic past. He had moved a few times and thus was missing a lot of typical test scores that we used to try and ballpark their ability. Don't worry, it was a ballpark. We didn't make major decisions until we actually had a chance to talk and work with a student for a bit. I thought, that's fine. I'll just do some one-on-one with Kevin and see what's up. One-on-one with Kevin was like conversing with someone who'd forgotten everything in a freak, if not impossible, amnesia incident. There was no evidence that he had learned anything past the 2nd grade, and now he was in 9th grade. Flabbergasted, I figured we needed to get more serious with this. If he was going to be in my class, I needed to know why and how. I decided to meet with him, his guidance counselor, his parents, and another teacher to see what was really going on. This is where it all became clear. It was by some incredible fluke that his family hadn't been wiped off the face of the earth years ago. Odds are his entire heritage was based on blind luck and some type of sick divine intervention that saves his family every time a threat presents itself. Kevin was the genetic pinnacle of this null achievement. Even my instructional lead, a woman who could find a redeeming trait in a Balrog, failed to see any reason this kid or his family should be alive today. So here's a list of events that made it abundantly clear that God exists and he's laughing uncontrollably. Kevin frequently forgot when/where class was. On more than one occasion, I had to retrieve him from other classrooms. Kevin would wander into the wrong class, sit down, and start participating as if nothing was amiss. Once, he joined a senior physics class and tried to answer questions about quantum mechanics with what he had learned from a sci-fi movie. Kevin ate an entire 24-pack of crayons, puked, and then did it again the next day. This is 9th grade. I have no idea where he got crayons. He claimed he liked the taste and believed they were colorful vitamins. He even offered one to a classmate, insisting it would help them see in HD. Kevin's dad wrote tuition checks and mailed them to me, his English teacher. This was a public school. When I gave it back to Kevin, voided, to give to his dad with a brief note explaining that this is a public school, Kevin got in trouble for trying to spend it at 7-Eleven after school. He thought the check could be used like cash and attempted to buy $50 worth of snacks. Kevin was removed from the culinary arts program after leaving a cutting board on the gas stove and starting a fire, twice. He said he was trying to cook the wood to make it easier to cut vegetables. The second time, he added oil to the stove to season the cutting board. Kevin threw his lunch at the school resource officer and tried to run away. He ran into a door and insisted it wasn't him. The lunch was a sloppy Joe, and it splattered all over the officer's uniform. When caught, Kevin tried to argue that someone else had thrown the lunch, even though he was holding the empty plate. Kevin stole my phone during class. I called it. It rang. He denied that it was ringing. Not that it wasn't his, not that he did it, no, he denied that the phone was actually ringing. He tried it 3 times before the end of the year. Each time, he would act surprised and confused, looking around the room as if searching for the source of the sound. Kevin called the basketball coach a motherfucking bitch during gym. Basketball tryouts were that afternoon. Kevin tried out. It didn't go well. The coach had no idea what prompted the outburst, and Kevin's performance during the tryout involved more falling than dribbling. He tripped over his own shoelaces twice. Kevin's mom could never remember which school he went to. She missed several meetings because she drove to other schools, none of which he ever went to. She once showed up at the local community college, demanding to see Kevin's progress report, completely unaware he was still in high school. Kevin tased himself in the neck before a football game. He found the taser in the locker room and thought it was a massage device. He ended up missing the game because he couldn't stop twitching for the next hour. Kevin kept a bottle of orange Kool-Aid in his backpack for about 4 months. He thought it would turn into alcohol. He drank it during homeroom and threw up. He called it his science experiment and was genuinely shocked, and it tasted like moldy juice instead of liquor. Kevin said the N-word a lot. Kevin was white. The high school was 84% black. Kevin got beat up a lot. Despite repeated warnings and physical consequences, Kevin seemed oblivious to the social and cultural implications of his actions. Kevin stole another student's iPhone and tried to sell it back to them. He approached the student, who immediately recognized their own phone, and offered it at a special discount since they were classmates. Kevin didn't understand that his grade was dependent on tests, quizzes, homework, classwork, and participation. Kevin finished his first semester with a 3% average. He tried to bribe me with $11. He thought grades were negotiable and seemed genuinely hurt when I refused the deal. Kevin spit on a girl and said, "You should get out of those wet clothes." The girl was the Spanish student teacher. He claimed it was a joke from a movie he saw, completely missing the inappropriateness and offense caused by his actions. Kevin didn't know dogs and cats were different animals. He referred to all pets as dog cats and thought they were just variations of the same species. When corrected, he was astonished and asked if there were other types of dog cats he didn't know about. Kevin tried to download porn onto a computer in the library, at the circulation desk, while he was logged on. The librarian caught him immediately, and his only defense was that he didn't know you couldn't do that. Kevin asked a girl to prom, he was in 9th grade and freshmen don't go to prom, by asking for her phone number and then texting her his address. He thought she would come over to his house and they would go together, not understanding the concept or rules of prom. Kevin got gum in his hair, constantly. It happened so frequently that the school nurse kept a pair of scissors in her office specifically for Kevin's gum removal incidents. Kevin regularly tried to cheat on assignments by knocking the pile over, grabbing one before I had picked them all up, and then writing his name on it wherever there was room. His attempts were so poorly executed that he once handed in a paper with his name written over another student's completed work. Kevin had several allergies, but neither his parents nor he could remember what they were. They were very concerned that the holiday party, it's high school, we don't have those, would have peanuts. When they finally got a doctor's note, he was allergic to amoxicillin. Despite this, they continued to warn every teacher about potential peanut allergies, confusing everyone. Kevin and his parents took a trip to Nassau. How the fuck did they even get airline tickets, and forgot all their luggage at home? I didn't believe him when he told me until I talked to his mom, who told me first thing when I saw her at the bi-weekly meeting. They spent the entire vacation in the clothes they wore on the plane, washing them in the hotel sink each night. Kevin's grandfather apparently died in a chainsaw accident. I can only assume God was looking the other way that day. The story was so bizarre and tragic that it almost sounded like a tall tale, but given Kevin's family history, I didn't doubt its authenticity. Despite all this, Kevin managed to survive his time in high school, leaving behind a legacy of bewildering antics and a reminder that sometimes, you just have to laugh at the absurdity of life. Kevin's story didn't end there. The longer he was in my class, the more I discovered just how extraordinary his lack of common sense truly was. Kevin once tried to microwave a metal fork in the school cafeteria. He thought it would make the fork warm for eating soup. The microwave sparked, causing a small fire that had to be put out by the janitor. Kevin was banned from using any appliances unsupervised for the rest of the school year. Kevin believed that if he wore his clothes inside out, they would clean themselves. He showed up to school multiple times with his shirt and pants inside out, convinced that he was saving his mom from doing laundry. When asked about it, he proudly explained his innovation in personal hygiene. Kevin attempted to train a squirrel to be his pet. He brought nuts to school every day and left a trail from the trees outside to the classroom window. One day, a squirrel actually followed the trail into the school, causing chaos as it ran through the halls. Kevin was ecstatic, claiming he had a new best friend. Kevin couldn't grasp the concept of time zones. When we had a virtual guest speaker from another country, Kevin kept asking why they were awake at such a weird time. He suggested we set all clocks worldwide to the same time to avoid confusion, completely missing the point of time zones. Kevin tried to forge a doctor's note to skip gym class. The note was written in crayon and signed Dr. Kevin's mom. When questioned, he argued that since his mom knew him best, she should be considered a doctor of him. The gym teacher kept the note as a memento. Kevin thought that the school's fire alarm was a signal for a treasure hunt. During a fire drill, instead of evacuating, he ran around the school looking for clues. When the drill was over, he complained that there wasn't enough time to find the treasure. Kevin entered a school talent show with the magic act. His trick involved disappearing behind the curtain and never reappearing. The audience was confused, and he was eventually found sitting in the janitor's closet, having forgotten the rest of his act. Kevin believed that writing his homework answers in different colors would make them correct. He would submit assignments with answers in a rainbow of hues, confident that the colorful presentation would compensate for the wrong answers. His logic was that teachers like colorful things. Kevin once brought a chicken to school for a biology project. He claimed it was for studying animal behavior, but in reality, he just wanted to show off his new pet. The chicken escaped in the middle of class, causing a frantic chase through the hallways. Kevin misunderstood a science experiment involving magnets. He brought in a collection of metal objects, including his mom's keys and a frying pan, thinking they would magically stick together and form a powerful super magnet. He was disappointed when his magnet sculpture didn't work. Kevin thought the school's vending machine was a slot machine. He would insert coins and press random buttons, expecting a jackpot of snacks to come pouring out. When he didn't get what he wanted, he kicked the machine, convinced it was cheating. Kevin once tried to charge his phone by placing it in the sun. He read about solar power and thought direct sunlight would charge his phone without a charger. After a few hours, he complained that his phone was just getting hot and not charging. Kevin believed that eating lots of carrots would give him night vision. He started bringing bags of baby carrots to school and eating them constantly, convinced he would soon be able to see in the dark. He even attempted to prove his new ability during a power outage drill, which ended with him tripping over a chair. Kevin attempted to hack the school's computer system. His method involved typing "hack" into the search bar and pressing enter repeatedly. When nothing happened, he assumed the system was unhackable and gave up, claiming he didn't want to break the internet. Kevin tried to prank a teacher by switching the classroom clocks. He thought it would be hilarious if everyone thought it was a different time. However, he only managed to move one clock, and it took him an hour to do it. The prank went unnoticed until he proudly confessed. Kevin mistook the school janitor for a secret agent. He noticed the janitor carrying a toolbox and assumed it contained spy gadgets. Kevin spent weeks trying to befriend the janitor to learn his secrets, only to be repeatedly shooed away. Kevin believed that the principal's office was a portal to another dimension. After being sent there for yet another misbehavior, he started telling everyone that he had seen strange creatures and weird lights inside. His stories grew more elaborate with each retelling. Kevin once tried to impress a girl by juggling textbooks. He had no juggling skills whatsoever and ended up dropping the books on his feet. When the girl laughed, he claimed it was part of his comedy routine. Kevin got stuck in a locker while trying to retrieve a dropped pen. He managed to squeeze himself in but couldn't get out. The janitor had to use bolt cutters to free him, and Kevin emerged with a triumphant grin, holding the pen aloft like a trophy. Kevin tried to start a school club for UFO hunters. He printed flyers and posted them around the school, inviting anyone interested in searching for extraterrestrial life to join him. Despite no one showing up, he held weekly meetings in an empty classroom, taking detailed notes on sightings. Kevin thought that wearing a superhero costume would give him powers. He came to school dressed as Captain America and tried to lift heavy objects, convinced that the costume would enhance his strength. When asked to change, he argued that it was his right to be a hero. Kevin believed that if he wore headphones during a test, he could absorb the answers. He played classical music, thinking it would make him smarter. When caught, he explained that the music was helping him channel his inner genius. Kevin tried to grow a tree in his locker. He planted an acorn in a pot of soil and watered it daily, expecting a full-grown tree to sprout within weeks. When nothing happened, he accused his classmates of sabotaging his tree project. Kevin attempted to build a robot for the science fair. His robot was a cardboard box with tin foil and a flashlight taped to it. He proudly demonstrated its functions, which involved making beeping noises and shining the flashlight. The judges were not impressed, but Kevin remained undeterred. Kevin thought he could teleport by spinning around really fast. He saw it in a cartoon and tried it during recess, spinning until he got dizzy and fell over. When he regained his balance, he insisted he had briefly teleported to another part of the playground. Kevin believed that wearing glasses would make him smarter. He found a pair of fake glasses and wore them to school, speaking in an exaggerated, intellectual tone. He was disappointed when his grades didn't improve and eventually gave up on the glasses, declaring them faulty. Kevin once tried to start a fire in the schoolyard by rubbing sticks together. He had watched a survival show and was convinced he could make a fire without matches. He spent an entire lunch period furiously rubbing sticks, only to create a small puff of smoke and no flames. Kevin thought that if he held his breath, he could make himself invisible. He tried it in class, holding his breath until he turned red. When asked what he was doing, he whispered that he was testing his invisibility powers. The entire class, including the teacher, burst into laughter.